Talk About This, the show where we dive into unfiltered conversations about business, work, and life. I'm your host, Amy Seddon, and I'm here with my brilliant co-host, Nilofer Rao.
Hello. Hi, everyone. We started this podcast because honestly, these are the conversations we were already having late at night, over coffee, voice notes, and texts about everything from navigating careers to figuring out how to actually live a smarter, better life while realizing that the issues that we were all facing are the same across the world, whether you live in India, UAE, or the US. So grab your coffee, your wine, your spreadsheet, whatever you need, and let's get into it. Hi, Amy. What are you reading or watching nowadays?
So I've been reading more. I just finished Persuasion by Jane Austen, and I'm still reading Onyx Storm. I'm really struggling with this, and I know I have you in the back of my mind saying, keep going, but I'm kind of just like flipping through pages and being like, okay, I've made 20%. When is it going to get interesting?
Yeah, this reminds me of what was it, ACOTAR? I think this is exactly how I was at ACOTAR.
Yeah. What about you? What are you reading or watching?
So I'm similar. I'm still reading Empire of Storm and Tower of Dawn from Throne of Glass. Absolutely love the series. I'm almost done actually. And then we've been watching it for 3 weeks. So we're currently watching Your Friends and Neighbors. It's on Apple TV. It's got John Hamm, which was one of the main reasons why we started watching it.
I love John Hamm. Did you watch Mad Men? Is that why you like him?
Well, Sabir really likes him. I watched 2 seasons of Mad Men, and I think then I lost interest or I don't know what happened. So I didn't finish it, but I know that he's supposed to be really good. He's a really good actor, but I just don't want slow, deep stuff right now. I just want dirty mystery, dirty murder. Let's go.
I feel like television's on the decline. Like TV and movies, nothing's been written that's really good. And so I rather just watch like trash content for that easy, chill, mind relax thing.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, welcome back to We Should Talk About This, where we unpack the stuff most people are thinking about, but not always saying out loud. And today we're tackling everyone's favorite topic, personal finances.
That's right. As always, we've been chatting with friends, listeners, and even a few wise finance nerds to really figure out, what do people wish they knew about money earlier, maybe in their 20s? What are the common regrets? And more importantly, what can you actually do now to course correct?
And we know that this is not a very interesting topic to chat over coffee or wine, but really, we have heard from so many of our friends and our family about making financial regrets or wishing that they knew a key learning about finances earlier. So we wanted to share our thoughts on this topic today.
Before we dive into some fundamentals, I'm really curious, Amy, how did you learn about money, savings, and personal finances?
Yeah, I was really lucky to have grown up with a father who was really smart with investment, savings, and budgeting. But I was never really taught at a young age from my father about how to control my spending habits and how not to buy things. And I remember when I got my first credit card and I didn't really understand the details about how credit cards work. I think I just set up auto pay and I just always loved spending on things. And I would just spend on food and go shopping and not really think about how much money I have in my bank account. And then when the month came around and I had that automatic payment of my credit card, I actually ended up going into overdraft with my bank because I didn't have enough funds and I didn't think about, I can't overspend in this
Mhm.
month period if I don't have enough
Mhm.
in my bank account. So that was like a really big learning for me. And then it took me years to really understand like how to manage my finances. And it took me time to talk to different people and understand like how other people are managing their finances and how I can adapt that to myself. And I also realized people don't really talk about managing their finances and they're not really open about it. It's really a taboo topic, and you just learn from the people that you're surrounded by.
I agree. I think you go out with friends and you can occasionally get a vibe on how your friends are with money, whether they're frugal or whether they're overspending. But there is often no discussion on how to avoid big mistakes in spending or how to really manage your finances. I think a lot of the discussions that we have now with our friends are around investments, and there are different ways that you can invest. But to be able to invest, you need to have funds. And that's why this is such an important conversation because you start early. And I think it really helps you in your 30s to then be able to have these conversations around investments and how do you grow that pot of money.
Yeah, I agree. And like we all come from different backgrounds and we all build different relationships with money. And so it's important to be open and talk to other people to understand how to build a healthy relationship with money. But I'm
Yes.
curious, Nolofer, what is your relationship with money? What is your background with it?
Yeah. So I think, like everything, my relationship with money has changed over the years. And I think it's basically because of three people: my parents, so my mom, my dad, and obviously more recently, my partner. So, very similar to your dad, my dad has always been very ambitious and careful with his investments. And he's always thinking about how do you double money? How do you invest that money? His friend circle is all about it. So he will basically sit with those friends. They will talk about real estate investments. They will talk about stock market and about how to grow that pot of money. However, growing up, my dad never said no to me for anything. And I think, again, that's where we're so similar in that sense.
I know it's
So,
the same. That's why I had bad spending habits.
yeah. And so you name it. And my dad, and even till date, I think Sabir would say no to me, but my father has never said no to me.
I agree.
And so you name it, and I have spent that money. But I think when I started earning myself, and the very big difference was that I was earning in the States, and it was a very different sort of ecosystem. I was paying rent. I had to save for my flights back home. I had to sort of figure out my day-to-day spending, and I did not want to take money from my parents starting out. And so that is where my mom came in because she's someone who's always budgeted. She's someone who's always saved. She has a very different way of thinking about money than my dad. I would say she's slightly more frugal. And so that's how I learned about saving and budgeting. She always told me to save around 30% of my salary post tax to really build that wealth that you can then later invest. And I have seen her do it with gold, with whatever she wants to do, right? That's where her money came from.
I think that's like great advice, right? Because people often just deplete their funds and don't even think about saving. So just that she told you that at a young age is so valuable.
Yeah, and I think if I was in India, I would have probably not paid a lot of attention to it. I think, again,
Mm.
now that I'm thinking a lot more about it and I'm reflecting on it, I think the flight tickets from States to India were just so expensive,
So expensive. They still are so expensive.
which is why I never visited you again.
I know. That's okay. I'll come to you.
Yeah, so I rely on you coming to the side of the world. But they were so expensive. And I used to fly almost every 3 to 6 months. And so
Yeah.
I was very conscious of the fact that I didn't want to get my parents to pay for it. And I think that propelled me to understand a little bit more about savings. And then my partner recently has changed my attitude and thinking about money even better. So maybe we'll cover it later, but he basically keeps a monthly spreadsheet and we update it every single month where we measure where are we versus our annual liquid target that we have in terms of cash slash savings. And then all our other investments, whether that's real estate or stock market. So I want to say that as of this date, my relationship with money is probably the best it's ever been. It's a very balanced relationship. We spend when we really want to spend. We spend on things that we would like to spend, but we plan for it, we budget for it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, we have similar spending habits. So that was something we had to learn pretty quickly that we needed to plan and budget.
Yeah.
It also took me some time to do that like monthly budgeting and tracking that you're describing. I didn't do it initially. And I feel like I started in finance, working for companies and doing that like on a large scale. And then I was like, why don't I do this for my own spending?
Yeah.
And that's when I started like building spreadsheets and really understanding what can I spend on and what I couldn't spend on. But the thing is, most people don't do that. And they're not aware of what they're spending on. They're not really reflecting on their habits. And I know that if you don't do that, you can build bad habits quickly.
Yeah. I have a question though, because when I started out, I did that for the first maybe 6 months and then I got bored of it. But I started out with like, I think Apple has this sort of setup where it shows you all the expenses, the savings, and all of that. You just basically plug in numbers and there's a spreadsheet that exists. Did you build it up? Like, did you build it from scratch or was there a template that you found online? Did you use another app? Like, how did you go about it when you started? And what are you doing now?
Yeah, I think so. When I first started, I did build from scratch. And that was just me being naive and a little bit of a control freak where I wanted to like bucket things myself. It was like exporting a ton of different pieces of information and categorizing and then like budgeting and then comparing what I'm spending on. And I feel like that took a lot of work.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I feel like a lot of banks or even applications, services have this concept built in.
Yeah.
So, like for my credit card, it like automatically categorizes things for me.
Mm.
And I can actually insert my monthly budget on the application. And then I know that I've played around with other apps that actually like integrate with multiple banks and credit cards because like often people are using multiple platforms to spend money. That was a little bit helpful for a period of time. But now I just use like some automation that happens like on my credit card interfaces, but I still do it a little bit manually and I'm
Yeah.
not really modern in how I do it. I almost feel like it's like a calming exercise for me to
Yeah.
like organize all the spending, review
Yeah.
it, and then like I sit down with Kevin and we talk about all of this. We're
Yeah.
pretty good at spending, so we used to do it monthly, now we're more on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
We don't need to be, like, as diligent. What about
Yeah.
you?
So we don't do it for spending per se. I think what Sabrina and I typically do is like end of the month, we tally if we are on, if we spend as much as we thought we would. So whether we
Yeah,
were at an average or like above average, we only go into the details if we spent more than what we expected.
yeah.
To go back into it and review what was something that we had not planned for or something that was an impulse purchase or whatever that might be.
I'm similar, like, I feel like I'm so in tuned with everything that I don't need to be in the weeds as much. I can just look at, like, a high level of my bank statement. I just know we're so planned, and I know not everyone's like this, but I know, like, I'm like, "This month is gonna be a big spending month. We're going to Japan. This
Yeah.
is expensive," you know?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's the difference, right? Like it's okay to do things and it's okay to overspend in some months as long as it does not blindside you.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between flipping into debt or managing your spending wisely. But
Yes.
yeah, I was just curious in terms of like how you tracked money because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And I struggled with in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's also about control. Like, if you do this early, then you don't build those bad habits where you're like, oh, I'm going to buy that new Louis Vuitton thing or on Instagram, like everyone's selling something and it's so easy to hit a button now and buy something.
Yeah.
And like all of that is good if you can afford it, but it's having that awareness. If we just circle back to some of the things that we've learned and what we've heard from other people that we've talked about, is that it's important not to overspend. And like one of the biggest things that people end up doing is that they go into too much debt. And debt can be good, but it also can destroy your savings plan. Something that people should look at is how do they manage their debt?
Yep. Totally. And it's so easy to spiral, right? And to not have control over oneself. I was reading this article about how the monthly payments are such a burden on the middle class strata in India. And especially now, I feel like I see that with the buy now, pay later models as well. You don't realize it in that moment when you're choosing it, but it is a debt that
Yeah.
you've taken on. And you will be spending, you will be paying for it over the next few months. So this doesn't help with the goals that you might have, the financial saving goals that you might have.
Yeah. Honestly, I try to avoid doing any of those models. Seems scammy to me. I know that they can be helpful. Like if you really need something and you can't afford it, then trying out those models. But I think if you're buying something that's more fun or more of a luxury and you can't afford it today, you shouldn't really be investing in it. So the rule of thumb here with debt that I've learned and I've heard from many people is that if your debt is under 6% interest, you can be strategic. But if it's higher than 6%, then like credit card debt, for example, which I think everyone should be getting the hint by now, don't go into credit card debt. You should be paying off any debt that's 6% or higher sooner rather than later because it will hurt you in the long run.
Yeah. And here we're not talking about mortgages. We want to be very clear about that. I think this is all about day to day spending and saving and budgeting. So it does not, when we're talking about debt, we're really talking about it from that lens and not like from an investment related lens. So the second tip that we have is to plan for any unexpected future by always having 3 to 6 months of expenses put away for emergency purposes. And I think you alluded to it earlier, Amy. It's not for luxury spending. It's not for a last minute business class ticket. It's really for actual emergencies like medical emergencies or also anything related to your sort of career or a pause in that career.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just really important to have that emergency fund because you just don't know what will happen in the future. And you don't want to be in a panic in an emergency that you can't afford the hospital bill. And also something bad is happening physically with someone in your life or yourself. Okay, so our third tip is all about savings and putting money away for retirement funds. And so in the US, there's tons of different retirement funds. There's 401ks that companies offer you. There's Roth 401ks and Roth IRAs, which is also retirement funds and traditional IRAs. And there's all these different approaches to how people invest their money for retirement. So a Roth is where you're paying your taxes up front before you invest and put your money away for the future. And then a traditional IRA or a 401k is where you put money away pre tax. And then later in life, when you retire and you pull that money out, you're paying taxes on it. And a lot of people, like I said, have different approaches of which retirement plan they want to start investing in. But before I go into all of that, I'm curious, like, does this happen in other countries?
Yeah, it's definitely a US thing. So in India, I know we have provident funds across all companies and especially the government. From my understanding of the difference between Roth and 401k, it seems like it's more around the tax implications of it. In India, I'm not aware of anything of that sort. I think it's literally just money that you put aside and then a company basically decides, like your company basically decides to invest it on your behalf at a certain percentage. And then, you can take it when you leave. In the UAE, though, we don't have any sort of provisions. So it's super, super imperative that you save for your retirement because
Mm.
there are no funds. There is no sort of provision provided by the private sector or the governments here. And
Even
kind of,
like companies?
no, it's
Okay.
not a law. So I think whatever is not a law just doesn't happen.
Makes sense.
And it makes sense, right? Because when you really think about it, we're not paying any personal taxes. And our salaries are almost similar to what you would expect in the UK or the US and better than India. So, what happens in that situation is that you would be able to save somewhere between 30 to 40% of your income. And that should directly go into either growing it. So, we basically, what we do is we save 5 to 10% of it as liquid cash, and then we basically invest the rest in terms of assets. So I think UAE is a very different model, and my understanding is the majority of Middle East is that way, just because there are no taxes. So you have all of that money in your hand, and you can decide what you want to do with it, and it almost results in that saving that you have from not paying taxes. So yeah, it's
So
it's very
interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah. I would be interested in the stats. Are people in the UAE, if they're not paying taxes, are they putting money away for retirement? I know that you probably don't know, but it would
I
be a thing. So,
yeah, there are two different stratas in the society. So one is the blue collar workers who are barely making do, right? They're here because they are obviously making more money than India, but they whatever they save is again good because the currency exchange really helps. So they are eventually making more money here than they would make in India, but they're not really investing or not really thinking about retirement. It's for now. It's to send it to their families back home now.
yeah.
For white collar workers, I think we are all working towards our retirement. We may not think about it right now in the sense that we all have certain liquid cash, at least from the friends that we have. That's what like the sense is. We all have liquid cash, which is a certain percentage of our wealth, let's say 10% of our wealth. And then
Mm.
everything else is just invested into assets, whether that's real estate, whether that's stock, whether that's gold, whatever that might be for you. So I think people invest a lot more here just because you have more sort of cash in hand with the idea of building it over the years that you can then use for your retirement. But if you were to talk about like liquid cash, I don't think for anyone it's more than 10% of their wealth in the
Mhm.
UAE from a white collar perspective.
Yeah. It's like hard for me to wrap my head around like a taxless society because
Yeah.
all I do is pay so much tax. And I feel like that's like the biggest complaint of like my friend circle where it's like, how do we get smarter? How do you avoid taxes? And that's all these retirement plans. They have different like tax benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I actually heard from a few people that are in their 60s, and they told me that they regret not putting money away into a Roth account.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like I said, it's where you pay taxes when you're younger and you put the money in right away after taxes. And then when you take it out in your retirement age, you don't pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be very beneficial,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're in a higher tax bracket later in life. So I feel like it's in the US, you have to think about how money is going to change over time. What's your like retirement horizon? And then research all these different accounts like the Roth IRA, traditional IRA. Then there's the 401ks, which come from your company. Often
Mm-hmm.
your company matches what you invest. So that's a great investment. Yeah, but there's just so many things to think about.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I think the tax structure in the US is so interesting and the kind of ways that you have or the options that you have of choosing what you want to do is also super interesting. I mean, I can tell you that it's the same in India with like the white collar population. Everyone's thinking about how do we save taxes, right? Because you are paying up to 35 to 40% of your wealth. And every single time you buy something, sell something, you are paying a portion of it to the government. So I think it's a very common problem to have. We just
Yeah.
don't have it here in the UAE, and I hope it continues.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
imagine it will change in the UAE.
I don't see it as well. I think as long as oil is there, we're okay.
Yeah.
So in in line with the conversation that we were having around like all of these different options for
Mhm.
retirement, I've heard that 401k has a lot of rules about not being able to touch these accounts until retirement because you might be charged with penalties. Do you know something about this? Is it true?
Yeah. So technically, if you invest in a 401k, you can't touch that money until you're 59 and a half. And some people have issue with that and they can choose to invest in like a different or have a different type of retirement fund so that they can access that if they want those funds before they turn 59 and a half.
Mhm.
But I will say that with a 401k, you can tap into the funds for emergency purposes like death in the family, or you have a child, you can pull out up to 5,000 without penalties.
I'm now very curious to try to understand what it is like in India. I barely worked in India for 3 months, so I have no understanding of any of it, and I've never really bothered to understand it, but I should. As someone who's financially literate, I really should. So moving on to the fourth key tip to saving money is being disciplined with the goals that you set for yourself. So I've heard that many people oversubscribe to the subscription services that auto charge every single month. And it's so easy to forget about something that you signed up for. I'm guilty of it. I probably subscribed to 5 different service providers at the same time, like
Yeah.
streaming service providers at the same time. And you just forget about the one that you started on a trial and then it automatically becomes an active subscription and you just keep paying it. And it seems like such a small amount when you look at it on a monthly basis, but yearly, it really adds up. So it's very easy to get stuck in this loop of overpaying for platforms that you don't use or that you never really wanted to
Yeah.
sign up for in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that's the strategy for these companies. Like even for Amazon, you can do like the subscribe and save is so easy to click on.
Yeah.
And, like, that's how they designed it, but then it's, like, impossible to get off of this plan, and I've fallen victim to this, like, I paid for a stupid eye scanner app, so it's, like, allows you to scan pieces of paper into a PDF, and I honestly don't even know, like, I probably used it once, and I just, like, signed up for the free trial, and then my credit card was attached to it, and I feel like I was paying for it for a couple of years, and I was like, "I need to take this off my credit card." So I feel like having the awareness, being disciplined, or even hesitating to, like, sign up for these free trials and give your credit card or any bank details is very important.
Yeah, I agree 100%. In fact, like for the Canva subscription, I set a reminder. I always set a reminder on my
Yeah.
phone when the free trial is going to end. And it's worse. It served me really, really well. So
I
I
know.
recommend that for anyone listening. That's how
Yep.
you do it. That's how you overcome these companies. Okay, so our final tip is planning for the future and consciously building a budget. I think planning out and tiering your cash flow into different categories was probably the most helpful trick for me. There are very few but specific things that I care about when it comes to categories, such as travel, maybe luxury purchases, and I really don't care about food. So it really depends from person to person in terms of what are those 3, 4 categories that you want to budget for throughout the year. With all of this being said, I know a lot of my friends are horrible at budgeting and managing their spending. So there are a ton of apps that can help you do this. They can find the subscription services you keep paying for that you don't use. They can summarize areas that you're overspending on every month, and they hold you accountable for your poor habits, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I've heard good things about these apps, but I've actually never used that kind in particular where they are connected to all your devices and they actually it's almost like a smart AI thing
Yeah.
where it will say, oh, like you're getting coffee at Starbucks every day. If you stop, you can save, I don't know, like $500 a year.
That was an eye-opening moment for me when I for one day did like a math. It's a quick math. $3 every single day, 5 times a week. That's 20 times a month. And then you do that math. It takes you 5 minutes to come at that number. And when you look at that number, it's hard to believe that's the amount of money that you spend at Starbucks in a year.
Yeah. Honestly, doing that exercise, I think everyone should do that. Like,
Yes.
it will blow your mind if you convert any daily spend
Yeah.
that's like a routine thing into an annual number. Or even, you can even go bigger. It could be like 5 years, and you'll be like,
Mhm.
oh, do I need that Starbucks?
Really. I agree 100%. It's a very good advice. I love
Yeah.
that.
Although I did love my caramel macchiato growing up.
And the spiced pumpkin latte that we do every fall.
Spiced pumpkin latte, it still trends in the
Yeah.
US.
US, Europe, you name it. It's in India now. Can you believe it?
Okay. Well, I mean, Starbucks is global and they
It
know how
is.
to do it. So
Yeah. They know how to rope you in.
I know. I love what you were saying about the tiered budgeting.
Mhm.
I had a friend say that like the best piece of advice that he got was to do this tiered thing. And he looked at it as like tiering the cash flow into riskier investments for long term horizon, low risk investments for something that you need more in the near term. And then obviously general cash flow that you need for just paying off your monthly expenses. But yeah, I think it's like just important to be diligent about breaking out your spending into categories, understanding what's like within this budget. So, like, how much money is coming in versus how much money is leaving, and setting some money aside for savings. All of this, building these habits early on, will just help you in the future, and it will open doors. Like, in your 20s, it might feel very tight, but later on, you'll probably have more access to free up for more fun spending.
Yeah. And we know that this is not fun, but it can open opportunities and reduce any stress that you have around money because you might feel a little bit more in control. So, for example, when I budget, like my partner and I, we basically sit and we plan the 5 big things that we will be doing in that year. That could mean 2 trips, that could mean a luxury purchase, that could mean something that we want to buy for someone's wedding or a cool experience. Maybe go to a Michelin star restaurant, spend money there. So we budget all of that in. And so when we're spending that money in that month, it does not come as a shock. And so we do all of this so that there's also something to look forward to in the future. You're saving all that money, but if you're not enjoying it and you're not enjoying it in a controlled manner, then what are you really earning for? So having these experiences, these planned experiences can really give you something to look forward to in the future while ensuring that you have a healthy spending habit in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I agree. Thinking about things that you want to spend in the future that will bring you joy, and like true joy, not just the immediate satisfaction of buying something online because you're stressed, is like a great thing to plan for. There was something else that there's an exercise that I do every time before I'm spending on something, especially if I'm thinking of buying something really big or purchasing like some big trip or experience. I always ask 4 things. It's, do I need it? Do I like it? Do I love it? And do I want it? And I try to categorize it. So, with do I need it? This is something that's essential for living, like paying your rent or groceries for food, which I know you said food isn't important to you, but I would put food as an essential category. And then there's, do I like it? So this is something that you're like, I'm thinking about in 6 months from now, but it's not necessarily essential. Do I love it? And then these are things that bring me joy. And this is different For everyone, usually it's like a 1 year horizon. For me, it's like a big trip. I love traveling. It brings me joy. Um, and then it's, do I want it? A want category is, are those things that I'm defining as instant gratification. It's, you're scrolling late at night, you find this shiny thing and you click buy and it comes to you that night or in 24 hours. It's not something that you necessarily need, and you're probably buying on feeling and emotion and not on thinking rationally. And for me, I like to think about what I'm going to purchase. I'm putting the things that are in my needs and my loves buckets as the most important. And then the like it and the want it are often, oh, maybe I should be questioning this decision.
Mhm.
But with all of that, with my 4 questions, the overarching theme is, can I even afford it? Is it within my plan?
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I think while I don't do it in such a structured way, but I was telling you, like, the days that I'm stressed or before going to sleep, I would just open the Zara app or like a Mango app and I would just scroll through it, add 5 things.
Yeah.
And before checking out, I would be like, do I really want it? Do I really need it? Like, and I would think about all the dresses that I have and how I don't need it. So I would leave it in the cart on days when I'm feeling
Yeah.
strong. And I would maybe like not do that on the days that I'm feeling weak. But it's so essential to do that in the structured way that you talked about. I think I love that. I'm going to be doing that next time when we,
Yeah. Yeah. I will say moving so much has helped me realize I need less things in life, not
yeah,
more things.
yeah. It's
But
also age.
anyway, yeah, and that's age.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so thinking about spending money with a plan and budget in mind has significantly helped me and my partner with any stress or anxiety around it. Nothing is, things are a surprise, but not that big of a surprise. I have more awareness that I can buy this or I can't buy this. And there is no panic later on when I realize that I haven't saved enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think planning can help reduce stress. And that is why we're here to talk about this. But that is all we have today. If you like this episode, please subscribe or comment. We plan to have more discussions about personal finances in the future. And it's never too late to get better with money. Thank you for listening to our show. We should talk about this. Bye.